I'm JinJa Birkenbeuel.
And I'm Esther, Ikoro, and we're the hosts of the Honest Field Guide podcast.
Entrepreneurship is no joke. The journey is full of anticipation, failure, hope, and disappointment. You'll make money and be totally broke at the same time.
The Honest Field Guide podcast tells you the truth.
We know being an entrepreneur is crazy hard, and you will sometimes cry at dinner. Listen in to be inspired, laugh, and learn how to really thrive on your business journey.
Today on the Honest Field Guide podcast, Google digital coaches and taking control of your digital footprint.
Hey, Esther.
Hey, JinJa. So today we're going to talk about Google digital coaches. Are you excited?
I am very excited about this conversation.
Great. Okay, so why don't we start off by you telling me what Google digital, or telling the audience, because I know.
You do know by now.
I do know by now. Tell me what Google digital coaches is.
So the Google Digital Coaches Program is something that the diversity inclusion team at Google have been working on for a number of years, looking for opportunities and ways to engage with the underrepresented and marginalized small business and entrepreneur community. You know, what do they need to do to understand more deeply some of the challenges and problems and issues and desires and wants and needs this community requires to run their businesses. And I think that, you know, Google is a huge company, and, you know, they work with countries, you know, like Canada or, you know, governments or large brands like the New York Times. So when it comes to them being 100% and completely in touch with everyday people, you know, they need to find a way to do that. And so what came of their research and work over a number of years was the development of this program called the Google Digital Coaches Program, which we piloted in 2017. My company, fortunately, was hired in 2016 to do some work around this nationally for the diversity inclusion team. And as a small business owner, I was really in line with some of the things that I know that I needed as a small business owner. And it was really helpful as I was on the road working for Google at the time with Birk Creative to sort of say, oh, I can hear more stories from other small businesses and entrepreneurs that are just like mine. Mm-hmm. And these are some of the things that you need to know. So it was just really a lot of fun. So after I did this work from 2014 to 2016, this program piloted in 9 states, which was great. And, you know, we've been sort of going at it since then.
What would you say is Google's company culture around small businesses? Because it's a huge company, and you're right, they can't really listen directly to what people need. And when you think about Google, a lot of people, even though I know this because I've been able to observe some of the things that they're doing with small businesses, but a lot of people don't think Google and then think small businesses.
Right.
So what's the company culture inside of Google surrounding small businesses? Because they're a technology company, and their software almost feels larger than life, and the products they push out feel larger than life, certainly larger than small business in a lot of ways. So what's that culture like?
Well, one thing I will say about Google, which is great, and I do, you know, we have a lot of other clients, Esther, at Birk Creative, right? So Google is not our only client.
Right.
But Google is an entrepreneurial company. It was started by entrepreneurs, and the people that work there are entrepreneurs. And some of the people that work there are entrepreneurial. So they have many of the employees at Google understand and have passion for and a sort of connection with entrepreneurs and other small businesses because they see themselves as that too. I mean, I've just found over the years working with different Googler people from all over the company, folks in the United States, I just feel an affinity with the people that work there. Mm-hmm. And so even though they do work with large brands like General Motors, Target, Coca-Cola, you know, they still have an understanding of individual people that are running things. And they also recognize that entrepreneurs and small businesses need their tools to be successful in this environment. They know the success that happens and exists from large brands, and they know, every person at Google understands that these tools can work for a one-person shop that has a business on their kitchen table. They get it. They really do get it.
So these workshops are completely free.
Yep.
Google invests a lot of time and money into deploying people like you all over the country to engage small businesses. Why do you think Google is investing so much in engaging small business owners and entrepreneurs?
I love that question because I get it all the time. All the coaches across the country get this question all the time.
What's the catch?
I know. What is the catch? Why is Google doing this? I mean, it's hilarious because with Birk Creative, we embed ourselves so deeply in the client relationship that for us, it seems very obvious. But I understand to people on the outside, it doesn't. Google is investing in this because they know the more people that use their products and access their software and their platforms, the better they can make their products because they want information. They need to know how things are working. And they particularly need to know how things are working for an entrepreneur or small business that has $5 versus $5 million a day, right? So for them, if they can teach and train a small business that, your $5, for example, will have an impact on your business in similar ways that a $5 million spend will have with a larger company, then that's a huge win, not only for Google, but for the small business that understands, oh my gosh, I had no idea that Google could help me so much to run my business like a big brand. I mean, it's a real thing. So it is a win-win. It is sort of this, collaborative process. And I do think that small businesses need to also recognize that when they're using Google tools, it's not a one-sided conversation. I mean, they have to participate in learning as well. They have to learn. Otherwise, they're not going to grow and they're not going to make it.
Yeah. I hear that sentiment a lot, too, in the time that I've been at Google Digital Coaches Workshop. I think it's a sentiment that is one that's common among small business owners about any sort of service.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that as a business owner, you are selling someone something.
Right.
But then when someone says, here's a product that could help you, you're like, no, what's the catch?
Right.
So for me, there are a couple things going on here that I think are really interesting. Part of what makes our world in this capitalistic society really great is that we get to interact with really large companies and really small companies. Like everyone doesn't want to go to, don't sue me, Cheesecake Factory or Olive Garden. Some people want to go to that mom and pop, Cubano serving restaurant, that has, really amazing sandwiches. Like some people want to find that one vegan bakery, or some people want to go to Sprinkles.
Right.
We should have access to all of that information so that when you want to go to Sprinkles, you can find the nearest one near you. And when you want to go to a mom and pop vegan bakery, you can find one near you. I think that when you look at that ecosystem like that, you begin to realize that both companies serve different purposes to different people at different times.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But they're not both taking advantage of the at-bat they have to get the right customer in the right time. When it comes to Google's tools, though, I think that there's always, with anything, especially since money is usually an issue for small business owners.
A major issue?
A major issue for
time.
small business owners. This idea of investing in technology, there's almost a distrust in it. So it's interesting that you said that, because if Google products work,
and they do,
clearly, they're better for you as a small business owner. And if they're better for you as a small business owner, what happens? You keep using the product.
Right.
No one's going to keep using a product that isn't working. When you're talking about B2B, which is what Google products are for in a lot of ways, when they're talking about their small business products like AdWords, like understanding what is, talked about in Google Digital Coaches, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
If it didn't work, then they wouldn't think that you would keep coming back. So they wouldn't invest the effort in engaging you in this, because it just wouldn't.
Right. But I think that the other piece around working and the other piece around working, though, is the small business owner and the entrepreneur, they have to know how to make it work. So a lot of times you'll have a small business that has made an investment in YouTube. For example, put a YouTube video out, or maybe they've taken advantage of an offer on Google Ads and spent a little bit of money and they've gotten absolutely no return. And part of that lack of return is they haven't really invested the time to learn how to use the tools to actually make it return back to them. So I think that what's working with the Google Digital Coaches is not only a top level awareness of all the opportunities that exist with Google and the products for small business, but also as the coaches are here we're here to teach you how to use these products so they can be effective and to help you change your mindset around whether you should trust or not. The question comes up repeatedly, what is in it for Google? What do they want? I don't trust Google. But
you use it every time you want to find something.
You absolutely do.
And if a restaurant's menu isn't on Google, you're like, what's wrong with them?
Exactly.
And then you have to look in the mirror and be like, what's wrong with me?
Exactly. You have to be self-reflective and realize that you've got to invest your time and energy into learning why things are happening and why they're working and how they can work better for you. So, I'm just excited about the program because when you think about other tech companies, and I'm not throwing shade on any of them, but I do think that Google is leading in the education space to help small businesses. I'm not really seeing this level of commitment coming out of some of the other tech companies where we rely on their tools every day. I'm not seeing a lift with this much visibility, and I also am not seeing with the other tech companies the freedom that Google is giving my company and the other coaches around the country to use them as a platform for their own growth and their own expansion and their own visibility. I mean, the work that's happened because of Google Digital Coaches since I've been involved in 2014, I've been able to grow my business from it. And I'm not really seeing that kind of commitment. I think Google is leading, and I think they're informing other companies to do this. And I welcome the day that a giant company that's not Google decides to platform small business, especially underrepresented and marginalized business, to help them win, because there's really not a lot of companies that are helping us. And I speak as an African-American, multicultural woman, be successful. They're not putting the money on the table to help us win. And I know that Google is committed to doing that in unconventional ways. I mean, it's not just like bringing a company in saying, here's a contract to work on it. I mean, they're doing all kinds of things. They've got their fishing line out in a lot of places to try to find opportunities to help people be successful.
Yeah, like with their supplier diversity program and with Google Digital Coaches and things like that. I just have one thing to add to this, though. It's not bad.
It's not. I see a little doubting glint in your eye. Okay.
No,
what?
I'm
like, I haven't convinced you yet. Seriously.
No, you have. Kudos to Google. Knowledge is power, and knowledge is a barrier,
right,
for a lot of people.
Okay, sure.
Right, and I think that when it comes to the digital knowledge gap, a lot of small business owners have limiting beliefs about where their business can go and what is possible for them.
So what, can you give me an example? Because I have a million examples I can think of that say yes. But what makes you say that after what I just said?
Oh, because when you're talking about people not knowing how to fully utilize tools to get the results that they want, I think about Google Digital Coaches Workshop, because a lot of the most helpful workshops I've seen have been ones that make a point to manage expectations.
Okay, sure.
It's like if I sit down at piano and if, a classically trained pianist sits down at piano, the piano's still the same. I just don't know how to play, right? So my result is going to sound a lot different. That's not the piano's fault. But for some people, they sit down once and they run one Google ad, or they put up a few Facebook posts, or they put up a YouTube video.
And they sit and wait. They're like, what happened?
They're like, I'm not on Forbes yet. This is a scam. And it's like, wait,
it's true.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy that you're bringing that up, because when I kick off my workshops, and I've run so many workshops since we went live in 2017, I right off the bat say, look, I've got this awesome coupon that's going to give you $100 in free advertising.
Yep.
And you're only going to need to spend $25 to get the $100 in free.
Give me one of those.
I know, right? but I'm pretty clear. I'm like, look, just let's be real.
This is for learning.
It's for learning. It's not going to get you the $1 million customer. I mean, $25 spend, with $100 in free advertising, which basically means $125 spend. That's a little bit of money, but it's an investment in you understanding what this looks like, how to write a headline, how to write the copy.
You have to learn those skills, and then you have to learn what your audience reacts to. And then, so there's a lot of learning.
There's a ton of learning.
I see a resistance to learning sometimes.
Oh, there's definitely resistance to learning. And part of that is because there's so much to learn that you have to ask yourself, my God, there's so much to learn. Where in the world do I start? And that's a challenge for any small business or entrepreneur that's alive now running a business, because the things that are happening today never were available to any of us. I mean, this is like, you're just like, it blows my mind, actually.
I have a conspiracy theory.
Oh, God. Oh, no. What is your conspiracy theory?
A couple things.
I have a lot of conspiracy theories, but this is not, our podcast is not about conspiracy theory.
No.
But I'm dying to hear
what is it. It's not like a government conspiracy theory.
Give it up.
This is just a business conspiracy theory. Now more than ever, people have access to the digital tools that can allow small businesses to disrupt large businesses.
Yes. That's not a conspiracy.
Hold on. I'm not done. When you look at, okay, let me give you an example. So there are a couple things at play here. One, you have the resistance to learning, because it's not enough for you to be a cobbler anymore and perfect the craft of shoemaking, for instance. You also have to perfect the craft of marketing those shoemaking skills. Right? So that someone can choose you, who is in their neighborhood, as opposed to go to, don't sue me, but Target, which might even be a little further away from them and might not give them the same options, right?
Right.
A lot of people feel like it should still be enough for them to be a master cobbler.
Yeah.
That's just not true anymore. So
no, you don't even have to be a master cobbler.
You just have to be good at marketing.
You got to be good at marketing.
And people resent that.
Who resents it?
People who are master cobblers, people who are cinematographers, people who are photographers, people who pride themselves on the craft of their work are very resentful of what they feel like has been the dilution or the turning away from what they think people should be focused on to what they think is, quote unquote, destroying the fabric of our society, which is social media.
So how is this a conspiracy theory, though? This sounds like
conspiracy real. It's real. It's real. So that's one side of it. There's the side that business owners have to accept that whether or not they like it, this is here to stay, and this is where the power is. So if your product is really that great, then you owe it to the customers that would gain something from your products to get in front of them. And the way that you get in front of them is by recognizing that you're not existing in a silo. You're competing with Apple, with Facebook, with Target, with all of these things. Attention. We're all competing for the same attention to say, here's my product. It is really good. You will really like it. With that being said, it is in the best interest of large established companies for you to think that this is unattainable.
Oh, yes. Now I get
it is in the best interest of large.
They don't want you to win.
Because then a Harry's Razors never happens.
They don't want you to
all
win.
Of these white label clothing lines that are taking money away from Target and Walmart and all of these things.
Gillette.
That are taking market share because, and these are companies that are purely built on internet, purely built on the understanding of attention.
Yeah.
If every small business
and they built it at scale. It happened fast.
Yeah.
Like it took Gillette a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. If every small business really, really took the time to understand the power that they have at their fingertips and for the fact that they're inherently more endearing and personable as a small business in this day and age.
Yeah.
Then big companies would be in trouble.
The last workshop that we did at the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, which is awesome. It was held with 10,000 small businesses from Goldman Sachs. I noticed when we ran the workshop that moment when I was kind of quiet and I said, this has never happened in the history of small business that we can do all the things that are in front of us today. And everyone looked around like, oh my God, this is true. And I literally saw like a wave go over the participants' faces, like, I need to wake up. I haven't been doing enough. They were literally, I could see it. I haven't been doing enough. I didn't think about it like this. And I think that the mindset change, and when you talk about the perfect audiences for this workshop, I mean those would be the perfect audiences because these are people that have a business already. They've been in business for a while. They know how to make money. They know how to spend money. They know how to invest in their business. and they have a desire to go to the next step. And so they're not really startup anymore. They're in market right now, and they all had websites too, which is critical because none of this stuff works unless you have a website or a YouTube channel. Like you can't do these things. And that's a whole other conversation about why do you need a website? Because let me just say, if there's anybody right now asking why do I need a website or why do I need an online presence, you're not really in business, and that's fine. I mean, you may think you are, but you're not really. And I'm just going to be blunt, like just you're not, okay? But that's like a perfect audience because they kind of are realize at that moment that the power they have to disrupt something that's been around for a long time. And I loved that feeling that I actually made that connection. And people left that workshop with the Chicago Chamberlain of Commerce and said, I'm going to do something.
That realization of I'm going to do something is great. The question that I always have when people leave a workshop like that is, did you actually do it?
The Google Digital Coaches workshops are always exciting, jam-packed with information, tons of energy, lots of enthusiasm all across the board. There is, just sort of a general feeling of camaraderie and also the recognition that it's a safe space because you're with fellow entrepreneurs that are trying to do something amazing. And so that experience is something that some participants have not ever had before. They've never really been in a cohort like that where they're looking around the room and seeing like familiarity, like, oh my gosh, like
there are other people like me.
Yes, just like me. And we're all, trying to make this work. And so but the other piece of that on the other side is that Google's done a tremendous job in sourcing the other coaches across the country, finding the right people with the right attitude, the right temperament, the right type of vibrancy and experience to run these workshops and to have sort of this, ability to have a conversation with small businesses like this. And so that combination is pretty explosive. And that's why they're working. Now, when it comes to after the workshop, right?
Which
Esther,
is the only part that I care about.
I mean, I know, like,
you
what
call
are the
me
results?
jaded, but when people are super excited about something, and I've been to Tony Robbins event.
You've been to a Tony Robbins event?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah,
you actually paid money?
No, it was a Salesforce conference, so someone paid
I
money
was
for
like,
me to be
oh
there.
my God. Like,
There's power in that because
there is.
mentality is everything.
Okay.
Like I said, lots of people have great businesses, but they have limiting beliefs about where their small business can go, and they don't recognize that a lot of these companies that are making millions of dollars started off just as small as them.
Gotcha.
But they deployed at a certain level, and they didn't say, oh, well, this is a scam. Like, there's a reason why Amazon was one of the number one purchasers of Google Ads when they were just a bookshop.
So your point is that all the energy around the event is one thing, but the execution is really hard. And now we have so many ways to execute that, it becomes when people leave, they're like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It's going to happen, this and that. And then over time, things start to kind of fade away and you get caught back up into your business versus
I have a lot to say about this. You know who Amanda Seales is?
Yeah.
She's a stand-up comedian. Look her up. She does stand-up. She's a writer. She's a singer. She's a rapper. She's great. She's really smart. She went to Columbia. She's excellent. She talks about being a multi-hyphenate.
A multi-hyphenate?
Yeah.
I love that.
Because Amanda Seales is a great example of a person who has done multiple things at a level that people wish they could just do one thing at. So when I say she's a stand-up comic, she's a this, she's a that, she's been critically acclaimed on all those fronts. Business owners have to be multi-hyphenates now. When it comes to being a multi-hyphenate, like you're good at Instagram or you're this, you're that, that's really daunting because we've grown up or we live in a society that's always like jack of all trades, master of none. And I feel like that is the mentality with which small businesses approach things like social media. They say, well, how can I do this when I'm actually focused on doing my business? When in reality, it's like, okay, well, if you were a hairstylist, you wouldn't just do people's hair and say, your hair looks amazing. You would spend time to make sure that the ambiance of your salon looks nice. And there's certain things that make one salon feel different than another. You would spend time doing all of those tiny things. It's just the same thing on a different platform. But when it comes to social media, and the reason why I brought up Amanda Steeles was because she talks a lot about the time that you allocate to things and the expectations that you have surrounding that time allocation. So when I look at what real expectations look like, I love after the excitement dies down. For instance, us doing this podcast for a certain period of time, I was excited for when I would stop being excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's how I would know if I could actually sustain it.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And
right.
when I look at my life as a creative and my professional, I'm excited for the time when I've gotten all of the ideas that I wanted to get off and now I have to come up with new ones. This is how I know if it's actually possible. That's why people's second albums suck.
Yeah.
You have your whole life to do your first one. Now you have to actually be a professional and produce. When it comes to social media and marketing and Google digital tools, there's a learning curve, but the practice of it over time helps you surmount that learning curve no matter where you start.
But there is something to be said, though, for realizing that you are not an executor and you need to actually have someone execute for you.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, because, small businesses, especially bootstrapping ones, and there's one person working and they have to wear 1,000 hats, it gets into a conversation of control and releasing some responsibility and realizing that mistakes are going to be made and they're going to have to be made in order for you to grow. If you are continuously and repeatedly stuck on execution, you've got to find someone to help you execute. Otherwise, you will fail. Your business will fail. You will not make money. You will not grow. And you'll look back and say, oh my God, how did this happen to me? You've got to let some things go. But if you want to start with one thing, figure out with the one thing. So like take YouTube, for example. There's some people that, love shooting footage on their phones, right? On their mobile phones, which is a tremendous powerful tool that we have now that can do anything we want it to do. If you realize that you love taking pictures, and that's something that you're doing maybe as a hobby or something on the side in addition to your business, try to find an alignment between that thing that you love with your business and try to put them together, because that's a place that you can just do one thing and execute. And if you think about that, then you say, wow, I actually do love taking pictures with my phone. I love working with filters, and I can't figure out how to marry that with my business. That then becomes, okay, if I love taking images, how do I align that with some content strategy for my business? What are some things I could talk about with my business that then allows me to take my phone and take a picture, which helps me tell a story and create a narrative around a topic that's related to my business? You've got to find a place that you love to do something that has to do with technology, that has to do with using this as a marketing tool. And that might be the way to figure out what is the one thing to do, because it is hard for some small businesses to say, I'm going to do Instagram, I'm going to do YouTube, I'm going to blog on LinkedIn, I'm going to have like photos of myself taken that make me look really good for my presentations, I'm going to make my presentation, I'm going to create a roadshow, I'm going to implement search engine, optimize my website. Like, there's so much to do.
I have a question for you. When it comes to expectations, you already said, okay, you decide you have the budget and you can't do this on your own. So you're going to hire someone. There always needs to be a conversation. I feel like there kind of is sometimes, but I wish there would be maybe a little more of it when it comes to Google Digital Coaches about expectations, because this is really a new segment of employment. Someone who does your social media as a small business. So I feel almost, as a person who does this as well, there's a risk of there being a disconnect. So what often happens is a small business owner is like, I guess everyone says I should do Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to hire someone to do it. Them not really taking the time to understand Instagram and Facebook and never actually having done it themselves muddies what their expectations are. So it's like,
whose expectations? The business owner? Okay.
Yeah. Because
because they don't know either.
They don't know.
So they don't even know what they're supposed to ask
either
for.
believe that it should be a priority. They don't know what they're supposed to ask for. They don't have expectations. They have weird, disjointed expectations about the execution or the speed or the volume.
Yeah, but you're talking about tactics and implementation of tools. You're not talking about the fundamental of understanding that you need to have someone that understands brand strategy before you actually bring them in on tools, because anybody can learn how to use a tool, but you have people that don't understand what it means for a company to have a strategy with actual outcomes that need to be measured, because that's what should be driving everything, and that's what actually should be driving the tool that you decide to use. So some companies realize that Instagram is their path of choice and least resistance to get a customer, but other businesses are like realizing, after going through a digital coaches program, I am under leveraging YouTube, and that's where a lot of my customers are. I need to actually be launching a total YouTube strategy for my business, and kind of balancing that out with Instagram. So the brand strategy piece is something that business owners need to be thinking about as they're trying to decide what role they should be sending out externally, either as an external consultant or bringing on a staff. That's something I think business owners forget, is that they are the brain trust around the strategy, and that should be driving everything. It doesn't matter if someone is good at Instagram. Who cares if they don't understand brand strategy and corporate strategy and revenue goals and growth and where you need to be so that you are solvent in first quarter, second quarter of 2019?
Yeah, I get what you're saying with that. Brand strategy should be at the core of everything that you do, but there also needs to be, I feel like there has to be a minimum amount of interest and understanding of these platforms for any business owner before they hire someone to do this for them.
I don't know about that. I think that it's not the interest. It really has to be if it's being driven by the goal of the company, because an interest isn't.
Yeah, but you're also
critical.
talking about it's not as critical. And maybe if we're still talking about traditional tools, what you're saying, I would accept it. But because we're talking about tools that people aren't used to and that they aren't necessarily completely bought into,
they have to be curious about them.
You have to be curious about it, because here's what I see. A crotchety old man that's been in business for 40 years already.
Wait, how crotchety and how old? Let's be careful.
Okay, a 56-year-old white businessman who has been in business for a double-digit years, right, is now being told, you need an Instagram for your company.
Oh, gosh.
He doesn't really understand Instagram.
He doesn't want it, doesn't like it.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't like it. Doesn't mean he doesn't need it to grow his business in 2018. So,
but he's undervaluing and
undervaluing
underestimating.
it. So then what do you think he's going to be, how do you think he's going to be able to manage the person that he hires because he feels like he has to and he doesn't want to deal with it? He's not going to be able to fully utilize that person, and he might not even really understand how Instagram truly fits into brand strategy.
Right.
When your Instagram person that you hired or your social media strategist that you hire posts 3 posts up and you don't get 1 million followers, you're like, I knew this didn't work.
But don't you think that person that you're referring to, that you just
or the crotchety old man?
So you just created, a
avatar,
user profile. That person, number one, is working on an old model. You're absolutely correct, and that old model didn't really leverage concepts around business outcomes that can be measured. And so the whole mindset around his thinking process isn't aligned. And you're absolutely correct. I mean, he's not necessarily going to be thinking about measurable goals, because that's not what you used to have to do. I mean, back in in his time, I guess, people would put a billboard on a highway and hope for the best that someone will look at it, right? I mean, they really didn't measure how many people looked at that billboard. Believe me, there was no measurement. You could not guarantee that 1 million people looked at that billboard last year. You can guarantee that 1 million people look at a billboard online, but he doesn't understand that, because that's not where he learned or where he got it from. So you're right. I mean, it is a challenge.
But there needs to be education also around what starting and implementing looks like in the beginning for small businesses, because when that person that I just described does go to Instagram and look at businesses that he wants his business to emulate, they're usually businesses that have been doing this for years now. Like, let's take a podcast, for instance. Some of the biggest podcasts are on their 200th episode, right? And so you do your first podcast episode and it gets 3 listens. There has to be some sort of education around expectations. Also, if you don't know enough about Instagram and you hire someone, because for me, a lot of those people will hire their niece and say, you are good at Instagram, you do Instagram. And then she will, or he, or nephew will just tell you what you should expect.
So the problem with hiring your niece, for example, and I talk about this at the Google Digital Coaches workshops that we run in Chicago. It's not a pet
project. It's a real part of your business.
What I talk about when we talk about hiring people that are good at Instagram or good at Facebook or
what does that
good
mean?
At Google or good at YouTube.
No
whatever.
one has defined what that means.
Well, I'll tell you what it doesn't mean
in small
for a business owner.
Circles. Go ahead.
What it doesn't mean for a small business owner is that you cannot put your company's goals, revenue goals, strategy in the hands of someone who doesn't understand what those are. And having a person that just knows how to use a tool, I continuously go back over and over again that you must have someone that understands the strategy of the company to leverage the tools effectively. This is why companies like General Motors have teams of people working on their Google account, for example, because everything they do on Google aligns with their goals and strategy. They do not have people that just know how to use the tool. And if they do have people that know how to use the tool, they're guided by someone who understands how that tool works with the strategy. So this is about managing expectation. No business owner should go into any products anywhere, Facebook, Google Ads, YouTube, Snapchat. Those tools should not be used unless they align with strategy. And I talk about that at Google Digital Coaches. And in fact, a lot of the coaches across the country talk about goals. And goals are hard to set.
So you've been doing this for a long time. You've been doing this since 2017. The experience that I've had even in this year with Google Digital Coaches workshops, I've begun to recognize patterns, in types of participants. So in your experience, what's the ideal participant in one of these workshops? Who, as a small business owner, entrepreneur, would gain the most from a Google Digital Coaches workshop?
Yeah, the workshops are open to everyone and anywhere. They're free. So wherever you are in your business journey, you can attend these workshops across the country. The ideal participant for Google Digital Coaches program workshops are not only businesses that have a website, but they're for women that have a business of all ethnicities. And I want to emphasize this because women in particular, we need a slightly different conversation around running a business and using our voices and speaking about what makes us happy, what do we need, what do we want. We just require something slightly different. We're also more hesitant about self-promotion. Earlier we talked about one of the women at the workshop that was concerned about spamming people. We're always wondering, I don't want to promote myself too much. So our workshops are very designed for this conversation. I mean, women entrepreneurs are driving business startup in record numbers. We're getting the least amount of funding, right? We are women business owners. Less than 2% of us ever get to $1 million in revenues. Listen to that number. Less than 2% get to $1 million in revenues. That is ridiculous. And then Black women business owners, less than 0.5%. It's horrifying. There's a book called $1 Million Woman that talks about this. But the Google Digital Coaches program is great because it's giving women some knowledge to give them the confidence to use tools to drive their businesses. So, I'm going to actually plan on having a workshop that's for women only if I can make that happen in Chicago. Women business owners only. And I'm going to maybe think about putting this together with the Founding 40 Women in Entrepreneurship Institute that I'm launching at DePaul University under the Coleman Entrepreneurship Center. I'm going to think about how to formulate this. So women that are listening, call me with your ideas about this, or actually email me at jbirkenbeuel@google.com with your ideas on how I can put together a women entrepreneur focused Google Digital Coaches program workshop in Chicago. I would love to do this.
Why is it important that Google's the one putting on this workshop? I mean, there are a lot of people that are experts in digital tools. There are a lot of people that give workshops. There's an ebook popping up, every 5 seconds asking you for your email address. So
yes,
what's the value, the inherent value in this being an official Google Digital Coaches workshop?
I think that what's great about Google offering it is that it's free. They're at scale. They can blow things up and make things a lot bigger. Everyone uses Google. They have so much expertise at so many levels and so many ecosystems and so many verticals that when people come to the Google Digital Coaches Program workshops and they ask a question, we will likely have an answer and be able to guide them to the place they need to go within the Google ecosystem. So, Google's not a one-trick pony. They're not just offering one product or one service or one piece of information. They're offering a full ecosystem of solutions from different industry types to data collection, to marketing tools, to advertising tools, to innovations around artificial intelligence. I mean, there's just so much available with Google that you almost ask yourself, is there a place I can go to find out everything Google's offering? And I say yes.
It's the Google Digital Coaches Workshop.
That too, but there's one other place you can go and find out what's happening at Google.
Google.com. Sorry. Sorry.
You could do Google.com, but yeah, but I mean, Google search. Ask a question.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Is that what you mean? Like
Google.com. If you
Google.com.
type in Google.com,
so bizarre.
it goes to the
You
search.
just don't refer to it as Google.com or you're like, Google it. You know what I mean? Like you don't
Right.
say, oh, go to Google.com.
Yeah.
Like back in the day you said that, but now it's like Google it. But yeah, I mean, anything in your mind's eye, anything you want to know, any question you have, put it in that search bar and you will get 1,000 answers. So, Google is a perfect opportunity. In fact, and I speak for myself when I say this, I invite all other tech companies to join with Google in this fight to help small businesses be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we need all hands on deck.
It would be good for their business in general.
Yes, it would be good for everyone to encourage and to help and support and to supply information to small businesses, but in particular marginalized and underrepresented businesses, because we have the widest gap of digital information of anybody. It's us. We don't have it.
You've been doing this since 2017. You've seen a lot of businesses come and go. What are some success stories that you've seen from Google Digital Coaches workshops?
There's so many success stories. And of course, I can only speak to the ones that are happening in Illinois, right? Within the full ecosystem in the United States, there's other success stories in the other markets. But in Chicago, Illinois, I've helped a business realize the power of YouTube. I set up a small business owner. She has a product. She's an inventor. And we did a little bit of work around her brand strategy. We did some audience segmentation work and figured out how to talk about her products that align with her specific audience segment and put her videos. We created some videos. We created a script, put her videos on YouTube, and we did, I think, 3 different videos. She has hundreds of thousands of followers now on her videos, and previously she had 500.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it was something,
500 is a lot,
but
for
not
small
hundreds of thousands,
hundreds of thousands,
hundreds of thousands on each video, and we did 3. So
that's great.
So the outcome of this program has been, she said to me, I had no idea. I had absolutely no understanding about how amazing YouTube could be for my business. And so now she's not looking back. I mean, she's actually doing more on YouTube than she is on Instagram.
I mean, it's about what works for your business.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
YouTube is a whole world that there's some people that exclusively live on YouTube.
Yeah. And
again, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but There's some
YouTube
people
is a
who
big
really
basket.
put a lot of their energy into that, and it works for them because they really understand that community.
Right.
And you can monetize YouTube on top of what it does for
You
your
can.
actual brand. So
After you
YouTube
have a
is
certain number of
exciting.
followers, you definitely can
Exactly.
monetize. Another success story, one of the things that we do with Google Digital Coaches is we provide a pathway for suppliers that are diverse. So another business I helped get through the supplier diversity program, I really just pointed them in the direction and said, now that we've gotten to know you, you are a perfect candidate to be a supplier to Google.
Nice.
So I helped her, point her in the direction of where to apply, which is if you just type in Google search, Google supplier diversity, you'll get the portal that says apply now. And she applied, and now she's a vendor that's available throughout the entire Google ecosystem for people to hire her and say, you know what, I want to order your product. And her product actually was wine, to potentially have her supply an event at Google. And she actually did. She supplied wine for one of my events that I had in Chicago, and it was fabulous. So that's another outcome of the Google Digital Coaches program is, potentially becoming a supplier for Google. And everyone isn't going to become a supplier. Everyone doesn't make it. But the chances of you having a better opportunity to become a supplier is to attend one of the Google Digital Coaches workshops.
Is there anything that worries you about the Google Digital Coaches workshops as far as, businesses that come in? Are there any patterns that you see that are kind of red flags?
I think that, that's a good question for you too, Esther, because one of the pieces that you talk a lot about is visual presentation online, how to make what you're doing look beautiful because people are looking at beauty. And I do want you to answer that. And I want to say the thing that does worry me all the time is all of the energy around the actual workshop and nobody does anything. So there are businesses that I know I can look out into the crowd and say, that business is going to make something happen. That business is going to do that. That woman's going to just knock it out of the ballpark. I can see it. And I can tell this by, the types of questions that are being asked, who's asking them, and the follow-up after the workshop. There are people after the workshop that take my information, which is jbirkenbeuel@google.com, and I get an email asking for help. And anybody that sends me an email, a legitimate email that legitimately has a specific question asking me, how do I do this? Or you talked about this at your workshop. Can you please help me understand what you really meant? I need more information. When I get questions like that or follow up, I know that they're actually executing, and that's a place that I've had some success. So if I don't get any of that from a workshop, follow up questions, then I'm like, good luck to you. Good luck to you. But I want to know, you came in this late. So after you started working for my company, I had you come in and do some content delivery at the workshops. But I have you focus specifically on, how to make a beautiful presentation with your brand. What are some of the what is one thing that you've seen that you've said, well, that's probably not going to work. Yeah. What have you seen?
I would say the thing that I see the most or hear the most that really worries me is that a lot of people think visual presentation is an afterthought or the cherry on top of their brand.
Sure.
When in reality, regardless of what digital tool you use, I always liken not embracing digital tools to opening a brick and mortar location and not putting an open sign
Yes.
up.
That's a good one.
Like thinking that people should just assume that you're there or go find you or go out of their way to, when in reality the world is a lot bigger. So it's harder for people to stumble across you, even if they're right next to you. They're going to look at their phone to try to find what's next to them. And even if you're physically there, if you're not there on their phone and there's a place that's maybe a little bit further than you that has great reviews and they know what it's like, they're probably going to go to that place,
Right.
But I don't know if it's arrogance or a resistance to change or whatever it is. The visual identity of your brand is what helps it exist online.
Exactly.
And so if that's an afterthought to people, it worries me.
Yeah.
Because that's going to show in the effort that they put in and the attention that they pay to whatever it is, whether it's making sure that their menu is on Google, whether it's, asking people to review them, whether it's the pictures they put on Instagram or the videos they put on YouTube or the posts that they make on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever. If you don't really buy into it, the importance of it, then it shows.
I mean, that's a whole other podcast. I
And
mean,
then
literally,
you have a problem because then you're definitely not going to
I mean, a whole other
do a
podcast
good job.
would be like us talking about, how to really leverage Google My Business and your location-based, with your location-based business. How do you leverage, your map on Google, which is talking about reviews and coupons and you being in control of your visual presentation and ensuring that your images are beautiful and gorgeous. I mean, that's a whole other podcast, and I'd love to. We're gonna have to do another one on that, right? We're gonna do another one. But yeah, I mean, those are two really good ones. I mean,
I have one more.
You do? What's your
Yeah.
what's your next one?
A lot of times we talk about the ways that business owners approach their businesses from a consumer mindset, and that being a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So
God.
a lot of time business owners are like, well, what's an example? They're not thinking about the ways that things work on the back end.
Yeah.
Right. So they look at advertisement as evil, or, oh, this thing is following me around.
Or you know what else they look at? You know what else they say? I don't want to promote myself too much. I feel like I'm going to spam somebody.
Yeah, like it's spammy.
Ugh.
When in reality, they themselves make purchasing decisions based on advertisement,
Yep.
based on the ability to see something that fits their desires at a specific point in time so that they can make a purchase decision that's good for them.
Yeah. I mean, so just cutting to the chase on that is that if you think you're being spammy, it's probably because you haven't considered your brand strategy, you haven't segmented your audience, and you haven't really understood who your customers are. Because when you have the right messages that go to the right people that are aligned with your business strategy, that is not spam. That is reaching a customer with their intent to say, this is what I want. And they're getting the message in the right place.
Yeah.
So that's really what I was talking about earlier when it comes to the brand strategy. You've got to understand your customer's intent, because what you do is becomes less about spam and more about how are you driving sales or how are you driving business. And you're right. That's consumer mindset. When you have someone that says, I don't want to be spammy, it's like, look, you are not a consumer. You're a business. You got to figure out how to get that person to buy your stuff, which means that your whole thought process is not about, not about like.
That's the whole point, is that you're trying to sell stuff.
Yeah, you're trying to sell stuff.
Like, people shy away from sales.
Can we just say really right now, like, when you're a business, every minute of your life, you need to be thinking about how to make money, how to sell stuff. I mean,
really
there's no shame in this. Like, just why do people feel like they can't be out there trying to make money all the time?
Because marketing,
what is that?
Because when we talk about advertising, we talk about marketing, we talk about it from the perspective of really, really large companies and corporations. And in our society right now, the thought of really large companies and corporations doing things like targeted ads, people frame that as feeling manipulative, right? When in reality, when someone sends you a targeted ad, it's because of something that you've looked at. When it comes to investing time and money in products like this, sure, people have a consumer mindset when they don't think about the back end of a lot of the purchasing decisions that they make. For instance, people who think that visual stuff is an afterthought to their brand. When you look in the room at people who think that the visuals and the branding is an afterthought, all of them are wearing very put together clothing. Some of them are wearing things with sports logos on them. Some of them have certain, bags or shoes. All of these things have to do with design, and you wouldn't buy into these things if they didn't look a certain way, right? But when I'm talking about investing time and money, I'm also talking about the fact that you have the opposite effect as well when some businesses or business owners say, well, I don't want to spend money on that because they're just trying to like sell me stuff, and this doesn't really work, or this is a waste of money or waste of time. When that to me shows a lack of understanding of the actual tool, because those same business owners have like a point of sales that they spent money on because they know that you need this like Square card reader because you need to take a debit card. You could just say we only take cash. So the same mind state that you use to invest in products for your business to make your business appear a certain way or be accessible to certain people, for instance, being able to take a debit card, that to me, that mind state, I see a red flag when that doesn't translate into digital tools. And maybe it's because digital tools are not physical objects you can necessarily hold in your hand.
No, it's all in your head.
There's this idea that it's
Mindset.
not like a tangible thing. but it's like a billboard.
But
More
no, but
people are
that's
going
not
to
correct.
look at
That's
their
not
phone.
correct. There are tangible things, though.
I know they are tangible things, but I'm saying because you can't hold a Google ad in your hand and say, this is what I paid for. A lot of people, especially people who have been in business before this whole digital
But you actually
wave
can hold it in
popped
your
off.
hand. It's called Google Data Studio. I mean, you literally.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you can.
But they're not. They don't know about Google Data Studio.
Yeah.
And they're coming from a perspective of
you can do
this is the internet.
You're right, but you can do visualizations.
Yeah,
you could do like a Google slide deck which shows you all the actual ads you produce, and you can look at the images around there, and you can show like what were the click rates on those, and was there any conversion. So
There's
but
a mentality
again,
though that
this is the mentality you're talking
sit
about.
It down on a table.
You're right.
I bought a nebulous thing.
Yeah.
Even though we know it's not nebulous, and
Yeah.
big companies know that it's not nebulous. That's why they spend so much money and time on it. Small businesses, especially small businesses that have been around for a while, there's in the back of their mind, they still feel like it's a nebulous, like, pet project, afterthought thing.
Yeah.
When the truth is, for instance, I'll give you an example. I was talking to a small business the other day, and they were talking about wanting to grow revenue. They have an e-commerce platform, and I was really surprised by that. Where
was their e-commerce platform? Was it Shopify or what was it?
I don't even remember.
Did they make their own?
I don't remember. But they sell stuff online is the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
And they're talking about wanting to sell more things, period.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started talking to me about print ads.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally said to the guy, I said,
print ads where?
Exactly. I said, if you want to sell more stuff, you would be better off taking whatever money you're going to spend on any sort of print advertisement and putting it into promoting your e-commerce, because that's going to scale faster. Like, someone being able to click on their phone and buy your product isn't inherently, if you just look at the numbers and the possibility, makes more sense than you trying to get someone to physically walk into your store. Mm-hmm. Especially if you already have an e-commerce platform. But there was a resistance there. And just objectively looking at the data, you wouldn't think that resistance will exist. But I could tell as I was talking to this person, like, they are really stuck in this mind state that if I don't print something and give it to you or put it on a billboard, like, and then I said to him, what do people do when they're in the car and they drive past a billboard, or when they're in their car and period? What are they doing? They're looking at their phones. So that billboard costs how much money? If you spent half of that on making sure that when people are looking at their phones, which they're doing all the time, they know that they can buy something from your store.
Yeah, like Clear Channel, look out.
Come on. And
Clear Channel billboard company.
If your true
really,
objective
this
is selling
scary.
more stuff, if your true objective is selling more stuff, you can't be romantic or nostalgic about how you feel like people should buy that stuff. You have to be real about the ways that they're most likely going to buy that stuff if they buy it, and then put your effort towards that. Whatever. So that's a red flag for me when someone starts kind of going back and forth with me, being like, yeah, but this is a really good spot. I'm like, no, it's not. I know a good spot for this billboard is a really good place. I'm like, I know that billboard's there, but I can't tell you last time I read it because I'm on my phone. And you are on your phone. That's the part that gets me, is that people who argue with you about social media, about digital tools, about this, that, and the third, they're on their phones. Like, they're using their phone. They're using their phone. Some people, there is a rare bird every now and then that has a flip phone. And those people are going to go away, because after a while, you won't even be able to purchase a phone without a data plan. A lot of carriers don't even let you do that anymore.
Right.
But most people who will argue with you about digital tools and social media buy stuff online and use digital tools and social media to make purchasing decisions. But that's a major red flag.
A red flag for me is when I am at one of the sessions, one of my workshops, and someone throws up their hands and says, oh my gosh, this is so much. I just don't think I can do any of this. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm just going to be really blunt. I'm like, you need to go get a job. Just please realize that maybe this is the wrong place and the wrong time for you, in the sense that you're maybe not an entrepreneur. Maybe you need to go work for somebody else. In 2018, I mean, to be exhausted by this is just, it's not going to work for you. It's not going to work for anybody that has a business. You have to not, you can't think that this is too much information. It's just, it's too bad. And this is not, I mean, I'll just be blunt and real. This kind of thing is not for everyone, and we are going to have a podcast on warnings and red flags around starting a business.
I literally was like,
I know. What do you like? We're going to have a podcast. I took
my glasses off, but for some reason it affected my hearing.
We need to start keeping this more real. Everyone cannot be an entrepreneur.
No.
I'm sorry. It's not working for every. You cannot do this. Everyone can. And don't be ashamed of not being an entrepreneur. There are people that have shame that they're not entrepreneurs. That they feel they feel bad that they're working.
Romanticized.
It's just it can't be. And so just getting back to this though, that's a red flag for me. And I see that person, I'm like, you're in trouble. You're in trouble right now.
So, we've talked a lot about the Digital Coaches Workshop and what happens at the workshop. What is the official role of the actual digital coaches, including yourself? Like, what do you do during the workshop? What types of workshops do you put on? Are there different ones? What is the role description of a Google Digital Coach?
There are 9 Google Digital Coaches across the country. I am the lead in Illinois for the Google Digital Coaches program. In Atlanta, Georgia, the lead is Justin Dawkins. In Austin, Texas, Vicky Sepulveda. In Detroit, Michigan, Katrina Turnbow. In Los Angeles, Roberto Martinez. Miami is Vicente Pimienta. In New York City, Francilio Wilkins Rahim. And in Washington, D.C. is Shelley Bell. We have a new program lead now for the coaches program. Her name is Angelina Darsonoff. She's also in New York City. And she really manages the entire program in terms of, the administrative roles and convening meetings to touch base during the week to understand, what are our successes and challenges as coaches in our states. What are some of the things that we need to do or that we want to pilot, some new topics we want to talk about, or even some potentially new hardware products that we might want to feature at one of the workshops. So she's really the person that convenes us together so we can have conversations around, the impact we're having in the communities as well. So it's really great, the roles that we have, because not only are we responsible for our respective cities, but we are available to do work in our states. And we're also available to convene together. So, for example, a couple weeks ago, I flew to New York and I did a special workshop with the New York coach, and it was on how to, rev up and revitalize and create an amazing personal website. And that was in the New York office at Google, which is great.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was a lot of fun.
It was like a mastermind panel.
It was a mastermind panel. And so when you were asking about the types of workshops, we have not only general workshops about, the entire Google ecosystem of products available for small businesses, but we also have thematic workshops like the Atlanta coach, Justin, he had a workshop on TensorFlow. Shelley Bell had a workshop on OK Google, which is voice search. There's also workshops on how to leverage YouTube exclusively. And there's also opportunities to have thematic workshops. So I had a workshop in Chicago where I brought in people in the restaurant industry. I'm going to have a workshop in February that's going to be convening visual artists that have a business in art. And that's going to be a workshop to help them understand how to leverage the tools effectively for their visual products. So there's all kinds of things. And actually, I am looking for people to offer to partner with Google Digital Coaches. That's the other great thing about the program, that I have a woman that I'm talking to right now who is responsible for convening women in the real estate industry. And so she wants to do sort of a collective workshop where it's people in real estate and Google Digital Coaches, and how real estate professionals can use Google tools, to drive, sales. And so there's all kinds of things. And I'm looking for people. So if anybody has a suggestion for how they want to partner with Google Digital Coaches in Chicago, Illinois, I would love to hear from you, because there might be something really cool that we can put together that will pull in at least 50 people to attend, to give them ideas on how they can do better in business and how they can make more money. I mean, we really are talking about how to monetize, right? We're not just, ultimately at the end of the funnel, We're talking about how to monetize and how to make money. This is not pie in the sky, dreamy conversation about, all the beautiful things that you could be talking about. It's really going to get down to how do you drive money to your business? And this is the only way to do it is by leveraging online tools. I mean, that's not the only way to do it, but it is the most powerful way that you can do it at scale.
It's the most scalable way to do it.
It really is scalable because you know what? You can't be everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
But you do need to figure out how to make this stuff work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that when you're sleeping, the machine is still working for you to make money, right?
Right. So you talked a little bit about some of the things that happen at workshops in general. Are there any tools that you cover consistently throughout all the workshops?
Yeah, for sure. So we, first of all, cover Google Ads, which is, display advertising, search network advertising, and others that are connected to Google Ads. And there's a lot of other solutions on Google Ads, but we really cover the basics, and those are the two. YouTube. So YouTube is a tremendous platform, and I cover, how to use YouTube, why is it important, and, interestingly enough, at all the workshops, there is usually 0 or 1 person that raises their hand when I ask the question, who uses YouTube for business advertising? Like nobody does it. And this is something that is under leverage. Okay.
Yeah.
So other things we talk about, Google My Business. So for location-based businesses,
right.
I talk a lot about the mapping environment that you can use, and you can add coupons and reviews. It's a great way to generate reviews from your customers, and you can control the experience much better than you can, for example, on a platform like Yelp. Okay, Yelp is really challenging for businesses to deal with. We also talk about Google Analytics and how it's important and how you should be using it, to measure your campaigns or measure your outcomes, or to even fundamentally find out with your website how many people were at my website, how long did they stay, where did they come from, and where did they go next? These are basic things. Some other tools that we discuss at the workshop, Google Voice. Great platform for advertising. Get a Google Voice number, and you can run all kinds of ads from a Google Voice number, and no one will ever have your personal phone number. Most small businesses and entrepreneurs, they don't have a corporate number, 523-1000. Like, we don't have that. So what do you want? You don't want to put your cell phone, which is probably the number that you use for your family and your friends and all your social activities. You want to have a number that maybe is forwarded to your cell phone, because when you put your phone number online,
oh, geez.
Oh, my God. Don't.
I'm not letting go of my phone number.
Please don't ever put your personal phone number on a Google ad, because Google ads do work. And this is a place where you will really, that's actually a good test. People sometimes doubt about the success or effectiveness of a Google ad. Try putting your phone number on a Google ad and see what happens. Don't do it. So Google Voice is another thing that we talk about. And then we also talk a little bit about Google Webmaster Tools, which is a product that you must have on the back of your website. And for those of you that don't know what Webmaster Tools is, please Google it and find out what it is and figure out how to get it in there. Those are sort of the fundamentals. I also briefly, go over some other things like DoubleClick or mobile advertising. We certainly talk about how to create goals. We also discuss value proposition, like what is it that you're doing that is so different from the next. And I always give an example of, I had a workshop once where there was 4 Ivy League educated lawyers, and they all had their own business. And I looked at all of them, and they were all amazing and super smart and kind of delivering similar services. And I was like, what makes you different? You need to know what makes you different in order for any kind of online advertising to work for you. Because once you put yourself out there as a business, you will find a ton more people and businesses just like you. And because there's a ton just like you, you've got to have that differentiating factor that makes someone say, I'm going to choose you over them. And so that's, again, that gets into a little bit of a mindset. That's not so much a tool, but it is something that you have to think about when you are using these tools to figure out how to make them work the best for you. And there's others. I mean, I'm not going to give everything away, Esther, because why would someone come to a workshop if I share it all now?
Because then they have someone to talk to.
I guess, right, exactly.
Yeah, but that's really interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
This has been a great conversation about Google Digital Coaches and helping small businesses and entrepreneurs understand how to use Google tools and other digital tools that are out there to grow their business. I think it's an important conversation, and it's really interesting that a company as large as Google is really putting some effort and investment behind connecting at scale with small businesses all over the country.
I love it. And the one last thing I will say, which is a tip for everyone, because a lot of times we have at the end of our podcast a tip for Black women in business, but this is a tip for everyone related to Google Digital Coaches. And I encourage you, when you come to one of the workshops across the country in the 9 states that I said earlier, I want people to network and to meet other businesses, because there is magic that occurs at our workshops. It's hard to describe. I mean, you were at the one in New York. It was I'm not going to say kumbaya, because that sounds like some kind of a peace initiative, but it really was a giant hug and looking around the room and saying, this is so amazing and so magical and so remarkable. And we were all talking together. And that's really the part that I want. How about this? If you're not going to do anything, at least look at each other, shake hands, exchange business cards, and say, let's connect. Let's call somebody and say, let's go to lunch next week and talk about the Google Digital Coaches program and what impact it had on your mindset. I mean, that's actually an actionable thing to make a goal to say, I'm going to connect with at least one person at this workshop, and I'm going to take them out, and we're going to go and share a cup of tea or a cocktail, if that's what you prefer, and talk about what we just learned. That would be a great outcome.
It's also a good way to meet people that could possibly be hired to help you with your business.
Oh my gosh, yes.
At the New York one, there was a guy there who specialized in security and IT, and he was trying to grow his business. There are a lot of business owners that I saw who need help with security
and he reached
IT.
out to me. He reached out to me, and I'm going to help him with his website. Yeah,
so it's a good way. You already know that you have someone who is motivated to some level because they're already in the workshop to begin with. But I've seen a lot of people make supplier connections, business connections, or even just, peer connections, because I always believe that businesses and business owners should have some sort of support group, because we are kind of siloed.
We are siloed, but I mean, that's why the Google Digital Coaches program is tremendous. I mean, hashtag Google Digital Coaches anytime you experience our workshops. That's something that we're using to track and determine, how effective we're being. But the other piece is, when you come to a Google Digital Coaches workshop, you are now officially part of the Google family. You really are. Because not only do we have your name and your email address when you come to our workshop, but you're part, you have a pipeline and a pathway to connect with your coach now. You have a way into the ecosystem. You have a way into this large Google environment that is virtually impenetrable, except for us. We're here to sort of, open the door.
So if people want to learn more about Google Digital Coaches before they come into a workshop, how do they do that?
All someone needs to do is go to accelerate.withgoogle.com/coaches, and you will see all the coaches across the country. And if you want, you can just type in Accelerate with Google on search, and you'll get the entire website that's part of this program, because we're actually underneath an entire initiative that Google's putting together around diversity and inclusion, right? Also, hashtag Google Digital Coaches. When you hashtag Google Digital Coaches and you follow the hashtag, you will see all the posts that are affiliated with Google Digital Coaches. That's on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is actually powerful in terms of reaching us individually. So all the coaches are on LinkedIn, and we put out a lot of content on LinkedIn about the program.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Honest Field Guide podcast, where we discuss Google Digital Coaches. I'm Esther.
I'm JinJa.
And we'll talk to you next time. The Honest Field Guide podcast is produced by Birk Creative, written and created by JinJa Birkenbeuel and Esther Ikoro. The podcast is recorded in the innovation and technology capital of the Midwest, Chicago, at Stomping Ground Studios in Ukrainian Village.
Original music is written by and provided courtesy of Utah Carol. Follow Honest Field Guide on Instagram and Twitter. The opinions expressed on the Honest Field Guide are opinions only and only represent the views of JinJa, Birkenbeuel, and Esther Ikoro.